She was one of the school captains, so she was always up on stage every Monday afternoon, speaking, introducing the whole school to the assembly and the parents. And I used to make an effort to try and drop in just to watch her do that. Like, such a proud dad moment. Yeah, those sorts of things. You can't put a price, I guess, on the last 20 years of memories. Well, I think family in any business is critical, and in franchising. So I guess for me getting into it, family was a big factor.
So welcome to the Gyms podcast. We've got a very special guest who's flown all the way down to Queensland. He's braved the cold and come down here. And Brett was actually one of our first interviews we did on the podcast, I think 4 or 5 years ago. So it's been great to see his journey and also to catch up with him now after 20 years in business doing the Gyms Pool Care division. So congratulations on that, Brett. So
thanks, Joel.
Yeah. How's it been overall for you?
Yeah, well, first of all, you've come a long way. Pretty impressive.
We have.
What you've done.
Yeah.
And a big thank you from myself and all the other divisions for all the hard work you've done over the years,
I appreciate
mate.
it. Thank you.
You've really helped grow the Gyms brand nationally, and all the divs think very highly of you, so thank you very much.
Thanks, Brett. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you can either leave that in or edit it out. I'd like you to leave it in. Please leave it in, because it's genuine.
I appreciate it.
But so 20 years ago, I still can't believe it, because often when you start a job or a role or an idea, you're not thinking 20 years ahead. But I guess I've just, for whatever reason, loved the journey and enjoyed it. Every year's been a challenge, to work out, I guess, what you're going to do as far as growth goes, especially when we got into the franchisor and divisional role. But also always trying to think of innovative ways to help franchisees make their businesses better, stronger, more profitable. And then working with the franchisors, ensuring that they're meeting their goals and they're growing their businesses. So there's been plenty of balls in the air over the last 20 years, but it's been exciting.
What drives you to keep doing it? Because it can be, you've got a really massive business now. It'd be quite a substantial business. So what keeps you motivated to keep doing it?
Yeah, well, I think years ago when I spoke to you, the goal might have been to get to 100 franchisees or whatever it was back then, and achieve that, which was very exciting. And I probably went through a little bit of a flat spot myself, because when you reach big goals, so I've always been pretty motivated and had big audacious sort of goals, and often they seem so far away. So when we took it over, probably 17, 18 years ago, there was about 28, 30 franchisees, and I thought 100 was so far down the track. Then you reach a big goal like that and you've got to reset. So it took me about a year to reset, and I got some coaching and read a lot and spoke to a lot of people, and I just set the goal at 150. So we're currently at 145. But the other goals for me were not just about growth. It was about, I had to reflect on what I'd built. So was the website good enough? Was the uniforms good enough? Was the van signage good enough? Are the franchisees making enough money? How can I help these franchisees achieve their goals? So we, over the last 4 or 5 years, implemented a whole heap of online learning, for example, part of continuous professional development, where they can self-serve videos about the industry, about new products. When we onboard franchisees now, we give them big, thick manuals, and we know people learn different ways. So what we've been doing is adapting that into an online learning system over the last 4 or 5 years. And people love that, because they can consume 5 minutes on their phone, iPad at home, or they might just punch out a couple of hours. And so by the time they start, they've consumed about 10 to 12 hours of online learning about being a pool technician. So they're little things, I guess, that keep me going, because it's not always about growth and growing a bigger and better business, but it's also about looking after the team you've got, because ultimately they've invested in me and the gym system, and we always need to be mindful of looking after them. So yeah, I'm still quite passionate about franchisees and hearing their success stories. Yeah,
because your model's a bit more expensive to get in to other franchises, so to have that growth is really impressive, because it's a higher, there's a lot more capital that's required, because there's a lot more that's involved with it, regards to training and products and different things like that as well. So what do you attribute then the growth to? Has it just been you're providing the brand just getting bigger, or there's just the franchisors have got some more help with sales, or what's the growth attributed to?
I think a lot of the growth has come about through the value proposition. So when you're getting into business, and I'd encourage anyone looking at a franchise is to really look under the hood of that business, whether it's gyms or any business, And some of the key metrics are, how many hours a day do I have to work? What's the potential income look like? What are my overheads? So when you think about pool care, we've got multiple revenue streams. So you've got your hourly rate, so swapping time for money. They're a common business, a common franchise is swapping time for money. But we then overlay that with, we go out and we test people's water. So now we're selling pool chemicals at retail margins. We then overlay that with pool equipment. So we can supply pool equipment to consumers at retail margins. So now we're working smarter, not harder. And while it costs a little bit more to get in, there is a lot more potential upside. So we don't mind if people get in and they just want to make a wage, but they're getting in for lifestyle, because gyms is a flat fee system. Like, what a great system. You can hop in and turn over $150,000 and take home enough money that you're paying your bills, but now you've got flexibility. A lot of our guys have got in over the years because they want to drop the kids off at school. They haven't done that for 10 years, 20 years. Or they want to pick them up from school. They don't want to be able to go to the school assembly to see their kid up on stage and get an award. So many dads who have interviewed and met over the years talk about those things. I missed out on so much. But the question always is, can I make enough to cover what I was earning? So we're talking about people getting in not to build an empire. They just want to replace the wage they're on, but have flexibility. And that's what franchising and gyms does across most divisions.
I think that's where your model's really good, because there are other models in the pool care industry, and people, when they're looking at franchise, will be looking at multiple different things as well. And that's sort of the sense that I get. And the beauty of with you as well, it's privately owned.
Yes.
Whereas these other ones now have got private equity, and we know what happens when that sort of stuff gets involved, who loses out in that. So privately owned by yourself, and a family business as well. So you mentioned family lifestyle. How does that work for you with your business?
Well, I think family in any business is critical, and in franchising. So I guess for me getting into it, family was a big factor. My background was IT and project management, and I was making good money as 20 years ago. I was 34, 35 years old. So a big part of it was the family. And I was thinking about 10 or 15 years ahead. We hadn't had any children. We're about to have children. A lot of my mates in the corporate world who had kids were doing 50, 60 hours a week in the city. So they weren't seeing them in the morning, get up. They weren't seeing them at the end of the day. They'd often had their bath and bed and dinner. And they're getting home, 6:30, 7 o'clock, and missing that. Weekends come. Dad's flogged already from a big week. He's got to, do all those dad things. Including mow lawns and do that around the house, and then keep the kids a bit, and then it's back to work again. And I thought, how could I do this better? If I could be in a business where I can control my time, so maybe I can work a bit later or finish a bit earlier and see a bit more of the kids during the week. But there's potential upside. So that's the beauty of getting into any business, is you're no longer swapping time for money as far as wages go. And there's nothing wrong with earning a wage, because I earned good money and it set me up to be able to buy a business eventually. But I just knew I was worth more than wages. I could maybe take a leap of faith and somehow at least replace my income. That was always my goal, replace my income. But I thought, what if I could earn a little bit more, so I could maybe work a little bit less, have Friday afternoons off, whether it be for the family or play golf or whatever. I could have a holiday when I wanted to have a holiday. I didn't have to put a leave application in and say, please, can I go away for a week. I could just plan it around what I want to do, or around the kids' school holidays. So family's really important. So I'm lucky I've got 3 beautiful daughters, and I've been able to watch them grow. So the eldest is now 18, so she's well on her way. The middle one's 15. I've been lucky enough to see her grow. She's become quite a good AFL football player. So I've been able to take her to trainings and watch her grow. And then my youngest is 13, and she's amazing as well. And she's a mad netball. But I'm, as recently as a couple of years ago, we talked about she was one of the school captains, so she was always up on stage every Monday afternoon, speaking, introducing the whole school to the assembly and the parents. And I used to make an effort to try and drop in just to watch her do that, such a proud dad moment. So I guess those little things sort of makes me a bit upset, to be honest. Sorry, Joel.
Nuts.
yeah, those sorts of things. You can't put a price, I guess, on the last 20 years of memories. Then I didn't think I'd get choked up about that. Yeah, just been around you, been having access to your children to watch them go on their journey, right?
Yeah.
Because ultimately, all the money you earn, all the nice things you have, the family is at the core of that. So whether you're religious or whether you're not religious or anything like that, that doesn't matter, because if you've got a family unit that's happy and you're providing for them and you get to be there on their own little journey, I think that's pretty powerful.
But you also had the courage to take the step.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people listening to that can relate to what you're saying. They might be in the corporate world and they still can't pull themselves to do it. So what would you sort of say to them? Because it can be a very scary transition, and you've been through a really good salary and your identity is linked to that job as well. So, when people ask you, what do you do and who you are, you have that identity and that your title and all that sort of stuff. And it's very hard to pull someone's self to a completely new industry.
Yeah.
So what advice would you have for people to do that?
I guess it's just being really clear on what you want to do. Like at 35 years old, I'd had enough. I just knew there was something else out there for me. I was lucky that I was financial enough to take a leap. So I'd encourage people looking at getting into business or looking to get into franchising or getting into Jim's group is to have a think about, I guess it's cliche, the why. Like, why do I want to do this? Have a look at your financial situation. Is your partner working? Will that give you a bit of breathing room for 6 to 12 months to maybe hop into a business and try something out? And then, go out on the road and try a few things. Jim's is great like that. Most of the divisions, you can jump in a van, go out for a day and see if it's for you. Go out for a couple of days. Go out with a few different guys, make some phone calls. We're very lucky like that. We try and be very transparent at Jim's. We want anyone coming in to buy the business. We try not to oversell the business. This is the opportunity. It's going to be quite a challenge for 6, 12, 18 months. Meet some other guys that have done it before you. Find out firsthand what it's like, and if it's still for you, we'll be 100% behind you with all our Jim's resources to try and make sure you're successful. So for those people thinking about it, it really just starts with the first phone call or an email. Just make the inquiry, start the ball rolling, inquire. Be smart about it.
Yep.
Don't dive into anything, but be smart about it. But just inquire. Just if it
absolutely
ticks a few boxes.
I recommend as well. We do have a lot of interviews with pool care franchise owners, which is a good one to watch because we have a guy who used to be a detective, and we have a few other guys as well. Jason's a great one. We have Day in the Road we did with Adam Post, which was when you said the story about your daughter, about that, he said the same story in the vehicle as well. With the construction manager wouldn't let him go and take a day off, and that was it for him. And he hasn't looked back, and he's earning great money, a lot more. And that was the push that did it for him. But I think, and with a lot of your guys who I've interviewed as well, they do financially very well. Yes. It's something where if you do call up, you can ask them and they'll tell you. But most of them, I would presume, have far exceeded what their previous wage was, plus they get the lifestyle benefits. So question for you is about the wages versus the business income, because everyone's always like, how much do I make? And I presume you get that question all the time. So do you want to just talk about, we can't offer any guarantees, but like what's the actual potential revenue, or maybe you can give us some case studies of some people who have come in and
of course
and what they've been able to do.
Yeah, so the classic wages versus business discussion is always, can I replace my wage? Most inquiries say, can I replace my wage? And I say, how much are you earning? They say, I'm earning $100,000. And I say, is that after tax? No, then there's some tax taken off. So they might end up with $70,000, $75,000. So as you said, we can't guarantee what they're going to make. There's a lot of variables. So, their enthusiasm, are they going to follow the system? There's other variables depending on the division, is the climate and what's going on work-wise. But so we very rarely will say you can earn X, right? Because we just don't know, and that's part of franchising. So if any franchise system is saying to you, we guarantee you're going to earn $500,000 a year, you want to probably look a bit closely at that. But what we can do is introduce you to franchisees that have done it. So that means have a chat to this guy. He turned over $150,000 in his first year. He turned over $200,000 in his first year. We've got guys, turned over $250,000 in their first year. Now, that's not profit, so make sure, our viewers are clear on that. It's not profit. There's expenses and cost of goods all come off that. But on the upper end of things, 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the track, we've got guys getting close to turning over $1 million. So we're going to have some $1 million pool guys.
That's great.
Gross turnover in our business in the coming years. And they've got, 3 or 4 vans on the road. And these are franchisees that are paying one set of franchise fees.
And so a flat fee.
Flat fee. Yeah. So the guy who's turning over close to $1 million is paying the same as the guy who's turning over $150,000. He might be taking a few more leads, so there could be some additional costs. But what an amazing system. It's up to you somewhere between there and there. You decide how big you want your business to grow. Your fees are, give or take, pretty close to a fixed cost. So everything else you can work out. But again, it's about asking questions. And
I was going to say, the ROI in the business I think is amazing, because if you look at other franchises, and people might look at QSR, which is a quick service restaurant franchise, and you look at the cost involved and all that sort of stuff, and then look at the ROI for Jim's franchise and pool care specifically. Like, if you've got a guy investing what they invest for the franchise and they're turning over that in their first year, like that's unheard of ROI compared to site-based franchise and all these other ones as well. People sort of, they believe it's too good of a deal sometimes, because that's sometimes I hear from us when we promote this flat fee model, and then first year revenue can be this and this, and people just think, what's the catch?
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about that in general with franchising? Because I think there is sometimes a negative connotation around franchising. It seems to get picked on in the media, unfortunately. There's way more, they'd like to focus on the negatives as opposed to the good side of it. So why is franchising, in your opinion, a good option? And what would you sort of say to someone who might be a bit sceptical about franchising in general?
Yeah, well, the power of franchising is really the ability to quick start a business. All the instructions, all the steps are laid out. Depending on your division, someone's possibly even done it before you, whether it's a division of 5, 10, or 20 franchisees who have done it before you. That division will be refining that system. Each time a new person starts, each time a person launches a marketing campaign, they'll be learning from that. So we've been learning for 20 years in pool care, refining it. So we know if someone jumps on board and pulls the trigger on our local area marketing plan and grinds it out for 12 months, we know, give or take, that they're going to be earning reasonable money. Always caveated with we can't guarantee it, but if you speak to enough people in that area or across Australia, but I always say talk to people in the area and ask firsthand, what did they do that was the secret sauce to getting to where they are? And ultimately, it's just hard work, right? We'll do our best to generate as many leads as we can. We do Google campaigns, Facebook campaigns, and all that sort of stuff. But our job is to get the new franchisee to the door and then win the customer over with great customer service. And then we're a repeat service business. So we want to come back every 2, 3, 4 weeks, forever, right? So we've got customers now. Speaking to a guy last week, he's got customers coming up to 15 and 18 years. Now, average service is sort of $130 to $150 a month. Times that for 15 or 18 years, right? Was it worth looking after the customer for that first visit? Was it worth knocking on that door to see if this customer was interested in some business or putting the flyer in the letterbox? Because sometimes it is the hard work. It's not just relying on the gym system to generate the leads. You need to spend more on Google AdWords or Facebook, Brett. Well, no, we don't. What are you doing in your local area? Please just follow the system. Get up and go and meet some people. You're a great person. I trust you. When you're speaking to people, I think you're great. You've got to be confident enough to go and knock on that door, meet that real estate agent, put a flyer in a letterbox, knock on a neighbour, service a pool, knock on the neighbour. Hey, notice you've got a pool. I'm doing a great job next door. Do you want to jump on my regular service program? Little things that help you build a big business quite quickly.
So that's the key to being a great franchisee then? Those ones who've got the $1 million or close to $1 million revenue business is just doing that proactive thing, following your system to a T.
Definitely.
Is there anything else they do beyond that makes them star franchisees? Or
I would say most gym systems will have a template of what you should do when you start in the marketing space to grow your business. But I think when I think about successful franchisees, it's not the technically brilliant franchisees. It's the franchisees that have an ability to build rapport quickly with a customer. They're almost it's not friendly. I can't describe what is. It's just people. They're likable because we buy off people we like and trust. So if I make a good first impression when I knock on the door, it could be calling back promptly, being polite, do a good job, follow up with a nice phone call, and I get a second visit. And then I put effort in for the first 3 or 6 months with that customer to build rapport. When times are tough, hopefully they get rid of the dog washing person rather than the pool guy. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. We love the dog washers. They're amazing. But yeah, you've got to have a relationship.
Yeah.
You've got to have a relationship, including the dog washer. They've got to have a relationship.
Absolutely.
Every division's got to have, every franchisee's got to have a relationship with their customer where they can't do without them. And they like them. So...
And real quick, do you want to outline the actual fee? Because people go, well, what am I paying the monthly fee for?
Yeah.
And I think, I've been doing a little bit of research outside of Australia with home services franchises in America, and I can't believe the difference in terms of what they charge compared to us. It's extremely low. So what's included with the monthly fee with the franchise? Yeah,
so the monthly fee, probably, if you talked about an average monthly fee, it'd probably be around $1,200 to $1,300 or something like that.
Yeah.
And that includes your base fee, which is called the franchise fee. It includes a marketing levy. So that marketing levy goes to your local franchisor who pulls that money and they spend it locally. So that's an exciting thing. It's not just going to a head office who decides where they're going to spend it. It goes local. You can work with your franchisor on that. And their goal is to generate as many leads as possible with that fee. So the more franchisees in the area, which is often a worry for franchisees, often it has the reverse effect. Franchisees will panic, oh, you're overselling, you're selling too many. And time again, we've seen that have the opposite effect. More vans on the road, more money in the marketing pot. Areas can grow quite quickly. Then you've got a lead fee. So it's great. I call it a lead introduction fee, but it's often referred to as a lead fee. So if you want to be introduced to customers, put your hand up and you pay the lead fee. So ours is about $30 odd for a lead fee. And you pay that regardless of whether you win the lead or not. But what it does, it puts some skin in the game. If I want to take leads, I'm paying for that lead. So what am I going to do? I'm probably going to call the customer as quick as I can. We've got a 2-hour KPI at gyms, but I encourage all franchisees to call back straight away, especially in the age of everyone wants an instant result or they're on Google or whatever. But that $30 lead for pool care could be a $150, $200 pool clean, could be a pool pump for $1,000, could be some pool heating for $5,000. So is it worth paying $30 for a lead? Of course it is. And our top performers around Australia are still paying for leads. Now, the cliche is, we get some dud leads here and there. Well, of course you are. It's business. You're going to meet customers that are just inquiring about prices or what you do. But the beauty of pool care, when someone rings up, they've got a pool. We're not getting customers ring up who don't have pools. And some customers are genuinely just exploring. But once you pay for that customer, that lead, that customer is yours on the database. So you can go back and market to them. You can send them an email. You could give them a letter with a voucher. Do a bit of mining on that customer for the next 12 months. Just let them know you're still around, even though you didn't win the job. So, and then there's a couple of other smaller fees that get up to about that $1,200, $1,300 a month. Which,
if you look at it, the return on investment from that fee, and you don't have to worry about doing all that stuff besides doing the proactive work area stuff, it's a really good return on investment. Because the common questions we've seen, which you've just answered, which is fee, lead fees, and then the other one, which I presume you might hear sometimes as well, it's just easier to start yourself.
Yes.
Start it yourself, don't pay Jim. You can chuck a $50 on Facebook ads and you get all your customers that way. What would you sort of say to someone who maybe has a bit of experience in the industry and is sort of looking at doing the two routes? What would you sort of say to them?
Well, we've had guys rebrand in the pool industry. So they've come across, they've been doing it themselves. And in speaking to them, it's a challenge to generate new leads. We're lucky in pool care. We've got tens of thousands of dollars to play with to reinvest in the various regions each month. And to be an independent now, if you've got a business that's full and you're happy, I think you're going to be right. But if you're an independent and you're trying to grow, it's a very difficult climate. You need to be front page of Google, top of Google. There's lots of strategies you should be doing. We do all that for you at the high level. Plus, we've got our local area marketing guides. As I said, that's 20 years of experience distilled down to, we know these things work over time. all our supply deals, we've done all the deals nationally, and they're pretty good deals, right? It's compared to an independent, I'm sure we're buying a little bit better. Jim's Insurance, he's got a very low public liability fee because Jim's does it for all the franchisees. The networking within the group, each region will have X amount of franchisees or across regions that you can call, hey, I'm stuck on a job, can you give me a hand? We have meetings. So Jim's always mandated that meetings are important. So most regions have to have probably 6 to 8 meetings a year, whether that's face-to-face or Zoom, depending on the logistics, for professional development, plus just to catch up and share ideas as franchisees, which is amazing. Like, if you're out there as an independent on your own, I don't know where you'd get all that knowledge from. Where, like, professional development in our industry is critical because it's moving so quickly. The technology, the Internet of Things is hitting the pool industry now, a lot of apps, automation, robotic cleaners. I really don't know how the independents keep up because we push really hard in the franchising space to make sure our guys are armed with information so they can be at the forefront of all this technology. And often it costs a lot more to buy this, right? But customers are interested in it. Customers are interested. There's plenty of customers with money who want the latest things, which means we're making more money per job because we're educated and we know how to deal with this technology.
I also think people underestimate the lead quality with gyms as well.
Yeah.
You know, if you're an independent business and you're advertising Adam's Pool Care or whatever, like they don't know who you are. You've got to, if you do get a click somehow with that, you've then got to establish trust on your website, all these different things as well, and that budget can go really far. When someone sees gyms, they've hopefully already used this before, know the name, and they're more likely to use this as well. And it's generally, from what I can tell, anyway, a better lead anyway. Yeah. So you're not going to have to be try and convince them too much if they've used gyms. And I think from a lead quality perspective as well, people underestimate the gym's leads. And there's a really good video people should see online. It's called Mike Andes is from America. Yeah. And he says, I think it's Mike Andes loves our lead fees because he couldn't believe how cheap they were. And he went through the whole conversion funnel with stuff. Because in America, they actually make their franchisees do their own advertising. Yeah, right. So they have to run their own Google ads and Facebook ads. And he showed the true cost it was to actually generate a converted paying customer. He basically said to Jim, you should be tripling your lead fees or quadrupling your lead fees based on what it actually costs to acquire a customer. So your lead fee, what you mentioned before.
Don't increase lead fees, Jim.
We're not going to increase lead fees. But the cost you mentioned before,
no, I get it.
$30, and you've got a guy, 15-year or 18-year customer for like a lifetime value from one $30 thing is quite
crazy,
amazing.
Mate. Yeah. It's tens of thousands of dollars because they put their hand up and said, I want to take some leads. And occasionally they might miss a couple. Occasionally it could just be a pool clean for $200, but a $30 lead to make $200 and the opportunity to be that customer's pool guy for their life. So even if they don't come on as a regular, we want to look after that customer and say, anything wrong with your pool? Here's my card. Make sure you give me a call. I will look after you. 6 months later, the pump breaks. Do they risk going to Google and getting out another random pool guy? Or do they say, Brett, that last guy that came here was a good guy. We've got his card. Let's give him another go. And all of a sudden, that repeat business for one-offs and regulars is what grows an amazing business. But you mentioned trust. I think more than ever, consumers are driven by trust. That's why referrals so powerful. That's why Google My Business is so powerful. No one wants to make a bad buying decision nowadays. We're all panicked because you search for anything, whether it's TV, electrician, a pool guy, there's just so many options. How do I make an informed buying decision? Well, I'll ask friends, I'll ask family, I'll ask neighbours. If I go to Google, I'm probably looking at Google My Business and the reviews. And the underlying tone and all that is trust. So now I'm looking at 3 businesses and one of them is the Gyms Group. We know the recognition of the Gyms Group and how powerful the brand is. So Gyms Group versus Davo versus Stevo. Ultimately, I think there's a lean towards the Gyms Group. So we're very lucky in that we've got such a big, strong, powerful brand. And I'm not saying there's not amazing independents out there. I've met plenty of good independents. Even our competitors, I get on very well with our competitors. They've built some great businesses as well, and I like talking to their CEOs about what they're doing and how they've done it. But I think the power of that Gyms Group brand across 50, is it 50 divisions?
It's always changing, but we always go at 50.
We'll go at 50. Across 50 divisions, so many vans out there and people in backyards doing great things. That has to account for something. In the weight of that monthly franchise fee, what is that brand worth and how many leads could that bring me?
It's a great point. I think the brand worth, we underestimate it a bit because we work in it so much. But, people meme the gym's logo, and I think that's a good thing. And that's, you got Bunnings, you got Dan Murphy's, you got the gym's logo, and it's like a pop culture icon almost in Australia, which you get access to for a really low amount of money. Everyone knows Jim. And all the younger generation that's coming up, they all know Jim. They love Jim on TikTok, all these sorts of things. You can see stickers flying around, which aren't endorsed by us, but I think it just shows the true brand strength, and it's how it's an Australian icon of a brand.
Yeah.
I think moving forward as well with everything that's going to be happening in the automation, AI space as well.
Definitely.
I think trust is a massive thing, and I think Jim's is in a really good position.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of those memes, Joel. There's some we can share.
There's some we can share.
There's some we can some we can't. Yeah. But, my daughters, we played a game last year. I'm trying to remember which one it was.
Is it a logo game where you get
the logo game?
Yeah.
Jim's, and it was against some pretty major brands. There was Coca-Cola and Schweppes and Cadbury's and all these brands, and Jim was in this, an international game. It's a logo game. Obviously, Jim's Monopoly.
Yeah, that's true. We've got Jim's Monopoly, but don't show Jim. You might want a royalty.
Yeah.
But we do have Jim's Monopoly as well, which Pool Care's on. But I was going to say as well, with your division, so you're 150 franchisees, you want to get to 200. How can you do that, or what's your plan to do that?
Yeah, well, I guess what's happened over the last few years is we have had really good growth. The growth has been in the resale space, so we're selling more franchises than ever the last few years. But we're also reaching a level of maturity in our business where we've got guys in their 60s now retiring out. So, which is great for the guy exiting. They get to sell their asset that they've been building up for, 5, 10, 15 years. Great for the buyer coming in because they've got a ready-to-go business. But the growth in the new space is where we want to be at in the next sort of 2, 3, 5 years, because the number of unserviced leads in pool care is increasing year on year in certain areas around Australia. So we want to work in those areas to find good people who want to take a risk and learn more about pool care, and then if they want to go ahead, get them into those locations. So, we've got Perth, Sydney, definitely down in Melbourne, Brisbane, there's Central Coast, amazing locations, Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast. There's all these amazing locations where we do have some limited opportunities, more opportunities than others, and even still some resales that are available. So I believe I think we've got about 12 regional franchisors. If they sell 1 or 2 a year, over the next 2 or 3 years, we're at 200. But we want good people. Like, we're looking for good people who are genuine about growing a good business for themselves, and want to fit into the team culture we've tried to build here at Pool Care. Yeah,
you've got a very strong team culture from what I can see online. People can go to the Facebook page and see all the conferences and the meetings and stuff. It seems like a very unified, everyone's on the same page group. It's a really good to see, actually. Yeah,
we want franchisees that are happy to give back, I guess, and help each other. So when a new guy starts, the local franchisees may help in some training. We provide each guy's numbers, so when they start, they can call any of these 5 or 6 guys. We'll get the meetings. We have the meetings. We're trialing different things too with technology in different regions. So we've got little WhatsApp groups now. So technical WhatsApp groups. So the region might have 15 or 20 guys in it, and I'm at a job with something unique. I take a photo and I share it, and all of a sudden I've got 10, 15 year veterans replying back in minutes saying, "Hey, do this." That's very powerful as a new franchisee to have that level of support.
Yeah.
Whereas, go back 10 years ago, you go out the van and you'd look up a manual. So it's all sort of that real-time support.
Yeah.
We're doing videos. Some of our suppliers now are doing online training as well. So they release a new product. In the old days, you literally got a manual that you had to read through. They've realised that, guys in particular learn differently. So they just send out a 5-minute online learning YouTube, and the guy can watch that and in 5 minutes understand this latest product.
And why is the pool care a good industry to get into? Because a lot of people I've interviewed from your division completely unrelated, like
Yeah.
no trades background. Like, we had policemen. I know there was a lawyer who came through training as well recently. We've even had a son come into the business, which I think is a great thing to mention, because I think that's a really good sign for a franchise system. But why the pool care industry?
I think it's an amazing industry. We're very lucky that the pool care is an amazing industry in that you're outdoors. Obviously, you're sun safe, but you're outdoors. So we call it an office by the pool, right? You've got labour, you've got retail, you're mobile, so you're not fixed to and we've explored pool shops and done pool shops in the past, and nothing wrong with good pool shops when they're set up right and they've got the right people and right support. But mobile, you're working from home basically, or out of a shed. A lot of guys hire a little shed, and that multiple revenue streams. But as an industry, I'd say it's a bit of a fun industry. We go to trade expos. I speak with other large franchising pool industry businesses, and we'd all agree it's just a great industry. Like, it's, I don't know.
There's a lot of happy people in the pool care industry. I think it's sort of an unkept, it's a secret where people don't really think of it initially. But you meet anyone I speak to in it has been there for a long time. Like, a lot of your franchisees have interviewed, been around for a very long time, and they're all happy. Yeah,
we have pretty good retention.
Yeah.
Like, the guys, I've met plenty of guys over the years who will say, "Oh, look, I'm thinking about just doing something for 3 or 4 years and just see where I'm at, and then I might get out. Can I get out?" And we say, "Yeah, of course you can sell. You build it up, sell it any time. We just got to find a buyer." And 10 years later, they're still in it, because it's that ability to sell something else besides your time, which means you don't have to work the big hours to make reasonable money.
Yeah, well, I've been out on the day on the road with a couple of franchisees, and very relaxing, and they make great money. And you're right, they do have that pool shop aspect of it as well. With the product side of it though, like, is it selling robots? Is it all the pool salt? Like, are they just basically bringing the pool shops to the customer and running them through what we can do, or how does that normally work? Yeah,
so literally Jim's Pool Care is a mobile pool shop. Yeah. So we can do anything an actual pool shop can do. So we've done deals with all the national suppliers, all the different branded equipment, anything from robotic pool cleaners, pool pumps, salt chlorinators, pool heating, green pools.
I love watching a green pool.
The green pool recovery. So there's always a bit of magic involved with that. We can't give away the secret sauce on how we do that, but we can go out to a green pool on a Wednesday, and the customer go, "Oh my God, little Johnny's having a birthday party on Saturday," or it could be the grand finals this weekend. We're getting 50 people over, and we say, "You should have told us a week ago." No, we say, "Leave it with us, and we'll do our best." And the guys have learnt over the years, and we've trained them pretty well, that if they follow a little bit of a recipe, we can normally shock and drop that pool and have it clear within sort of 3 or 4 days. Sometimes it does take longer, depending how bad it is and what we're shoveling out of it. But and it's not cheap sometimes for the customers, but they're focused on the outcome. Like, I can't do this. Is there any chance you could do it? And I've got the deadline on Saturday. I will pay anything for you to do that. And if we can help them out and do something in a timely manner, maybe have to juggle a few jobs around so we can spend a bit of extra time there. We love those outcomes. And customers literally say to us, and on reviews, I'm just amazed what Jason did in 3 days. Our pool looks amazing. We had a great kids party. Thank you, Jason, sort of stuff. And I love reading those sorts of reviews that one of our guys went out of the way to help a customer.
And I love hearing that. And I see a lot of the stuff online as well. You've got 2 of the biggest pool care accounts in Australia under you, with Jason and Brad, which I think is amazing. I think I actually looked at the view numbers on Jason's videos. He's got 683 million views on his TikTok account with pool care content. I couldn't believe it. Retired cop, and he's now got the biggest TikTok account in Australia for pool care. I couldn't believe
he's very popular. He goes through stages where he's a bit exhausted by it, but occasionally he'll fire up again and keep doing it. But that was a trial we did a few years ago, and Jace, to his credit, put the time in. And has a slightly different style to Brad.
Yes.
Brad's style is different, and Brad's often educational and all that sort of stuff. But both of them have embraced the technology of putting themselves out there. And as a trial, I was very supportive of that, because it's subliminal branding. So we decided they wouldn't be Jim's Pool Care pages. They could do it under their own names. But they've got the Jim's Pool Care hats.
Everything's Jim's in the videos,
and shirts. Yeah. And with my endorsement, they've gone and done that, and they've done a great job of it.
Well done to you for allowing it to happen, because social media and franchising is still a sore point for a lot of brands. They don't know how to deal with it, whereas we've sort of just go open slather because we know the positive of it. So well done for you, because that was probably 3 years ago, when TikTok was just sort of being talked about, and everyone back then would have thought it was just a platform for dancing, not knowing how powerful it could be for home services. So what are your views on what they've been able to do with it? Because I think subliminal branding as well, and the amount of exposure they get on those videos is quite ridiculous. Like, I think he had one video with like 43 million views or something, which is organic for something that took 5 minutes to do. It was amazing. So it's credit to you as well for allowing them to do it, because that's not something, because a head office can go bang, has the right to do.
It's a challenge, because I'm very mindful of all the franchisees. So when you buy a franchise, you own a territory, and we say you can do whatever marketing you want in that territory. The franchisor will do the rest with the 131. You can do whatever you want inside the territory with the 131 and your local number. So when, many years ago, because I've been doing this for 20 years, Facebook and other websites started coming up. It was a real challenge how we got the head of it, how we can encourage a franchisee to make an effort to do something in that space that's not going to impact someone else's business. So we're big on Facebook posting and advertising. So we spend a bit on the Facebook advertising and that, Instagram.
You do a lot of your divisional. So I just point out to people, so Brett's responsible for the divisional accounts, which is like Instagram, there'll be Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all that sort of stuff, and you pump a lot of content into there. And then you've got some franchisees who are franchisors as well, who do you give them their permission to do local generated content on their platforms.
And I guess that's where I was getting to is, I think I'm one model in that the franchisors around Australia manage Facebook page, Instagram accounts, TikTok, that help their local franchisees. So we encourage franchisees to contribute to that. So if you're in the gym system and you are taking lots of photos and you have content, I'd be sharing that with your franchisor to help them grow their pages. And then other divisions in gyms are allowing individual franchisees to do it. And, I want to see more data around that. So I don't mind that model as well, as long as the franchisee gives that page some love and makes the effort to post and maintain it. I think that can work for some divisions. But our division's probably a hybrid, so I'm very supportive of it. The measurable stuff is still a little bit unknown, but when you're getting, hundreds of thousands or millions of views on things, there is that ongoing branding. You've got to maintain the brand. Coke and McDonald's, they're still spending tens of millions of dollars a year because they know they've got to keep maintaining the brand. And if we can do that for free through some of our social channels.
That's the key, the free organic. And I was going to say as well, and just for people, those two franchisees aren't short of work. They've got plenty of good businesses there.
So they're doing that. Ultimately, they're doing that for the greater good of Jim's Pool Care. So obviously there's some self-interest and a little bit of stardom. So
they're both influencers now. They're both the biggest, one of the biggest accounts in Australia.
They'll probably start charging me. But they're genuinely doing it to give back. So to give back to their communities that are following them, because they're like that, these guys. And if they generate some additional work for the Jim's Pool Care guys nationally, that's a bonus. And I appreciate the work that they put in. Anyone who goes above and beyond in any business or system needs to be recognised, because it's really easy just to worry about me. And I understand that, because some people are busy, and I'm part of a franchise system because you guys have to do everything. But we notice as divisionals and franchisors, those franchisees that give back, they'll train someone, they'll hand off a job here and there and help people out. We notice all that stuff, and we want more people like that.
And that's a great point, because I think when someone looks at a franchise option, because you own the division, you can essentially, you're allowing that sort of stuff. Whereas I think with other systems, which are a bit more rigid and there's a bit more corporatisation in there, it's never going to happen. So we're very lucky that you've allowed that to happen, because I think it's an amazing thing for the division and for the group overall. And credit to Brad and Jason, who've got the biggest pool care accounts now in Australia. You're right. I don't know why Jason doesn't charge fees for influencer videos, or Brad as well. I'm sure
he's on the verge.
I was going to say as well, with you, how do you manage your business? Because is it just you and Kelly running the head office for Jim's Pool Care, or who else is involved?
Yeah, so the other part I talked about, being around the kids, being a husband and a business owner can be complex as well. So I admire all the guys that have come in and brought a business with the weight of the world on their shoulders, because most guys by nature are providers. We want to provide for our families or provide for our wife. So for me, I was in the same boat. So I had a good IT job, and here I was going out buying a business with no customers. I think there was 8 or 12 Jim's Pool Care franchisees in Australia. And I had to explain the common sense behind that to my wife, which was tough. You want to do what? You're going to clean pools. And I said, no, it's not pool cleaning. It's a mobile pool shop. I'm going to sell stuff as well and do all these things. And she basically called me an idiot. And she still to this day believes that I didn't ask her approval to do it. But I swear there was a conversation somewhere. But so to take that on, I guess the challenge is I don't want to do the wrong thing either. So that's part of the risk of getting these guys to inquire and buy it, because I might be on good money and now I'm going to make this risky decision to buy a business. And a lot of our businesses we're selling are starting from scratch with no customers. So you need your support of your partner. So we always say to guys inquiring, try and involve your partner early and tell her what's going on. Maybe involve them in the interview process. Yeah. Send them down to gyms, like you run the gyms training down here. Joel, I think it's great when a partner comes along and sees it firsthand and sees what the part, even if they're not going to work in the business, they get to see it and understand gym and gym's culture and what it's all about. But to these wives, I have to take my hat off to them, because the guy comes in and makes it sound like it's going to be an easy journey, but it's a hard grind that first 6, 12, 18 months. And sometimes you get home and you're not as organised, so you might be out in the shed sorting some things, or you're doing some invoicing, and the wife might have been used to you getting home from work and being there and present at 5 o'clock, and helping with dinner and helping with the kids. So you have to keep communication up with, I'm doing this for us. There's a greater good. And sometimes you've got to step back and reflect and go, no, you're right. I'll come home, I'll help you out, and then I'll jump in the office for half hour later on. But yeah, to all the partners out there who support our Jim's Pool Care franchisees and all Jim's franchisees, I take my hat off to you, because you've got to be a wife and often a mother and a support person and counsellor sometimes, because being in business there can be some tough days, and you come home and you need to talk to someone. So you want to make sure you've got a good relationship with your partner.
And I will say to people, the training for partners is free, because we want you to come in. Yeah. Most of the time the partner then sometimes buys a franchise themselves, which is quite common. Yeah. And I presume in your division I've seen a lot of husband and wife teams come through as well, so they're doing it more as a husband and wife operation as well. I think there's been a couple of recent ones I've met.
Yeah, so some of our top performers have been the husband and wife who are both working the business, so either going out in the field and working together, or one in the back end office committing to it more or less full time, while the husband's out in the field. And I guess that's just because it's economies of scale. So, finding staff in the current environment can be difficult. Good, reliable staff who are going to show up and do the right thing. But it mightn't be a full-time staff member I need. I just might need someone to come and help me 2 or 3 days a week. Depending where your partner's at and what age the kids are at, it's just too easy for them to hop in and help you out a few days a week with the job. And then what we find when we speak to these partners who are doing it, they actually love it. They love going out there. They're with their husband, depending on your relationship. They're with their husband. They're working together to grow a business. And it's creating potentially some more time for him, because rather than him doing, a 10-hour day, he might be a 7-hour day. So they're both having a little bit of a win, making a bit more money, not having to go out and employ staff. And that gives them that flexibility. So when it gets a bit quieter in winter, maybe you step back to 2 days a week. And then in summer, I might be able to do 4 or 5 days a week. And for some reason, the last few years, some of our top performers and national franchisees of the year have been partners.
Well, I met Gemma and Greg up in Sydney, and they're a husband and wife team. And they just had a great story, and how they work it around their family. And you think that's exactly what Jim's is about. Yeah,
they're amazing.
They're amazing people, and you can watch that interview on YouTube. So look it up, because it's a really good one as well.
Gemma and Greg have done a great job. Yeah. Both very passionate people. Gemma, once she gets talking,
we interviewed Gemma, so it was fantastic.
She's got plenty to say, and Greg's an excellent technician.
Yeah,
and a real go. He's built he was he had his own electrical business, and I just couldn't believe. When I spoke to him, because I was involved with the sale, are you sure you want to do that? You got an electrical business. I know what electricians are like.
Yep.
Like, you drive past someone's house, it's costing them money. Similar to plumbers. But he told me a little bit about his story in the business, and he was making good money. But he'd spoken to Brad, who was in the business for many years and was a friend. And Brad was very transparent about what he was earning. And he said, look, if I can get on and over a couple of years earn what Brad's earning, I would never be an electrician again. And to his credit, he grew up. He'd probably been in the top 5 or 10 all-time business growth franchisees. He just hopped in with 0 customers and went boom, and just followed the system and just built this amazing business in Sydney.
Yeah.
So hat off to Greg and Gemma. Gemma's very supportive. We've got her actively involved at head office now in the educational space. So we've got a Certificate 3 program now for all our franchisees.
That's great. What's this Certificate 3 in?
In pool and spa care.
Pool and spa
so it's
care.
a national qualification.
Awesome.
So it's a trade qualification. And we're pushing for the majority of our franchisees to do that. Every new franchisee will have an allowance to do that moving forward.
That's great.
Because, again, more professional development plus an industry registered qualification's amazing. It was taking a bit more brain juice than what I had. And Gemma's really good at that stuff. So she's been running with that for about a year or so, and she's excellent in that role.
I was going to say, because a lot of the time when the husband or wife or woman, depending on the circumstances, starts the business, a lot of the time they will see how it goes for a bit. Then they'll start helping out here and there. Yeah. The next thing you know, as you said, they've quit their job and they're fully involved with the business. And that's happened quite a lot, because I've interviewed a lot of the people who are doing it. Because they're very sceptical at the start as well, which is why it's important for them to come to the training and go to the franchisor interview, because I think that's really important. But I also will say, husband and wife teams, look up the YouTube stuff. There's all on there what Brett's saying with Gemma and Greg and other franchisees. And you can actually hear from the wives who say, very similar to what you're saying and what I'm saying, about it as well. And I think it's just a great business from a family perspective as well, to earn great money or really good money, and then just to have that overall control.
Yeah.
And then your division, longevity-wise, is really, really good. I think it's up there. Yeah. I know Jim always quotes Test and Tag as the best attrition, but I think Pool Care would have to be up there as well.
Yeah, be up there. We don't have many guys lead, to be honest. Not to say there hasn't been challenges over the years, but even with the partners, and I don't want to sugarcoat it, because even in my own business, Kelly, my wife, who, again, I'll take my hat off to Kelly. She's amazing, and I really appreciate the support over the last 20 years. I couldn't have done it without her. She's been in and out, more in than out of the business. When the kids were young, she had to do less, and we got a bookkeeper and stuff in to help it. But I liked having her in the business, and, to bounce ideas off. And she's definitely has different opinions and gives me a different perspective on business. So when I'm in difficult times, I can bounce something off, and she'll give me, because she's very honest, she'll give me her opinion, and it's nice and refreshing to have someone as intimate to the business as she is to be able to give me her perspective on things. But yeah, and it's not for everyone. So we have plenty of wives that go to the meeting and say, I'm going to do all this bookwork and do all that sort of stuff, and 12 months later, you speak to them, they say, there's no way on earth I can't work with this guy. He's crazy. But to compensate for that, we're using technology now. So things like Xero.
Yep.
So back in the old days, poor old Kelly, so I'd be writing invoices, giving her an invoice book. She's then logging into MyOb and then having to manually check off things off a bank account statement.
Yep.
And then eventually it was net banking. Versus now the guys can, before they leave the driveway, they just tap it in and hit send, and that invoice has gone to the customer. So when you get home, there's minimal to do. Automatic bank reco, where you're just matching transactions, very, very quick. Jim is investing a lot of money into a new app.
Jim's Jobs, yeah.
Yeah, for the franchisees. He's had multiple versions of that. The one they're currently building looks amazing. Safi is the lead developer on that. I'm very excited about the next few years with the technology side of things.
And with the yourself as a divisional franchisor, because we don't talk enough about divisional franchisor, because it's a very unique thing in gyms, and some people might think of it, refer to as a master franchisee, but you're sort of your own franchise brand as a silo entity. Yep. So what's the reality of then running a division? Because a lot of people say, I've got this idea for a gym's division, I'm going to franchise my business and slap a logo on, and I'm going to grow it magically. Yeah. So do you want us to outline what's the actual reality, and what should someone actually know about running a division and what's involved to make it work?
Yeah, that's a big question. So Yeah, I guess, and I've seen a few come and go over the years, and I've seen a few not have as much success as they'd like. I guess the challenge is maybe, we talk about the powerful of the brand, is maybe leaning too much on the brand. Is you need good people in that divisional role. And I'm not saying some of those divisions that weren't successful or didn't grow weren't good people, but there's a whole heap of things involved. You know, the execution, the way we market the new brand, the new business. Is it aligned to Jim's core position in the marketplace? You know, I don't necessarily agree with every new Jim's division. I get a chuckle out of some of them, and some surprise me and go on to do great things. So I think if you are interested in starting a Jim's division or you're rebranding, so I see a lot guys with amazing independent businesses approach Jim to try and get scale around Australia. You're still going to need good people around Australia. So you might be a great entrepreneur with an amazing business, but how are you going to get people to duplicate what system you've developed and put them around Australia? Because you can't be everywhere. So that's where, I guess, for myself, I've got a pretty good franchisor team. Not always perfect, but they're a good franchisor team that are genuinely invested in the business, and they've helped me to be able to scale what I believe was possible around Australia. And most of those guys have gone on to grow good franchisor regions.
And what's the key to them being a good entrepreneur? Because a lot of people, entrepreneurship's sort of back in. I have to say, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, but they don't know how, and they might not. They wonder if they're cut out for it. So what's the key to being one as successful as you over 20 years?
Yeah, thanks, Joel. I think I wish it was.
Not many people make it. Like
I wish it was easy.
Not many people make it. I mean, franchising alone, like there's hard, like a lot of this. I think it's like 1,500 franchise brands in Australia. We're the most franchise brand per capita with New Zealand. I think New Zealand's now number one. We're number two. So we've got the most franchise happy, market in Australia, and most of those brands don't make it past 20. So to make it past 20 franchise locations or franchisees. Is a really good achievement. So, how being an entrepreneur, what questions should people ask themselves, or have you been able to do it for so long?
Oh, well, I wish it was just as easy as updating my Instagram that I'm an entrepreneur or an influencer, and then it happens, which is what my daughters think being an entrepreneur would probably be about. But I guess, obviously passion for what you're doing. You definitely need resilience because, I go back to the early days, you just think it's all going to happen so quickly, and it does take time. It does take time to grow a good, strong business. You have to be willing to reinvent yourself. You have to be willing to learn, listen to other people. A lot of good entrepreneurs over the years, Branson, Jobs, all those sorts of guys, surrounded themselves with good people. Because you have to have good people around you. I can be the most amazing entrepreneur in the world, but if I don't have good people to help me execute, then I'm probably not going to grow a great business. So I've been really willing to listen to people, listen to franchisees, listen to franchisors, lean on fellow divisionals. I've had some amazing fellow divisionals, mentor and give me just general support, and that's still going on today. I tap into that. But yeah, probably, the big one's just, as I said earlier, the resilience thing. You are going to get setbacks and knockbacks, but it's how you dust yourself off and say, well, that didn't work. How do I do something different? And you've really got to, never give up. But, eventually sometimes too, you've got to know when to call it quits on something. So I've gone as far as I can down this path. It's not working. I'm going to pivot and do something else or do something that works a little bit better.
What's been your biggest challenge then over the 20 years? Has there been a single moment, or what was the biggest challenge and how did you overcome it?
I think the challenge, and it's been since day one, is finding good people.
Yeah.
I know we've got this great business and this great system, but how do I shout it from the rooftops? And every, how many, 1,500 brands or something you're selling in Australia?
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
So your 1,500 brands are all trying to shout it from the rooftops, saying we're the best franchise. So that's been a challenge over the years for me because, probably for the first 3 to 5 years, I thought we had an okay thing. Like I thought it was great. But now where we are, I think we're as strong as ever. Jim's Pool Care is as strong as it's ever been in the last 20 years. And I know we've got a great system. I know we can bring on the right person, and within 12, 18 months, 2 years, they've got an amazing business, and they're at whatever level that might be. And I believe in it. Follow the system and you can do it. But you have to build a system that, hand on heart, you can say that. So I'm at that point. Call any of our franchisees, call any of the franchisors. I don't care if you're a new person inquiring. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. I'd hope that whether it's myself or franchisors, we're going to tell you it's going to be hard work. But I know at the end, if you stick at it, you're going to have a great business that's yours, and you're your own boss. You can work your own hours and make as much money as you want.
And be a lot happier. I think mental health is a big thing of people. I think a lot of people I've interviewed with you, the first thing they say is the mental relief. And that's been a new thing over the last 5 years, especially that I hear from interviews.
Yeah,
the
you've
mental
interviewed
side.
so many people, mate.
Yeah, well, I had a couple of you guys were detectives who I interviewed, and
I can only imagine.
I can imagine what they've gone from that to then this.
Yeah.
It's just a massive extreme in terms of how much more relaxed they are and happier they are. It's really good.
We had a few. We've had a few fly-in, fly-out mine guys,
FIFO guys,
and I think gyms is a big opportunity for the mining industry.
Yeah.
And the mining industry ebbs and flows, so they're pretty quick to just put people off, or if they're ramping something up, they put people on. So if you were a miner and you were exiting out of a mine, whether that be pushed out because of the demand or it's because of the family. So we met a lot of families in that space that are saying, I just want my husband back here more. It's been a real challenge for the family. They're definitely attracted to the money and the income, but the family unit, which I talked about earlier, is more powerful. I'd say call gyms. Just try it. Just explore. Obviously, pool care, but there's lots of different options in gyms.
Well, the FIFO guys, just don't assume you can't make the same money as what you're doing in FIFO as you can with gyms eventually.
Yeah.
I think you can. And because that's the common detraction we see online when we advertise specifically for FIFO, the same thing. We're going to make this much a week. Or why would we do that? But I think just do your investigation and check it out and talk to franchisees, and you might be surprised about how you can maybe do a similar amount of money. Yeah,
shortlist a few divisions. Yeah. Speak to a few franchisees. Go for a few ride-alongs, and find out firsthand. So we've definitely got some ex-FIFOs who are doing really good things.
Well, and to close this off, Brett, personally, what do you get up to in your free time? I know you're a footy man. Are you still doing the Masters? I
love... no, I'm not playing footy anymore. I played AFL Nines last year. But if any of you understand AFL Nines, it's a very short oval, touch football, 9-a-side AFL. I was unable to walk for 2 to 3 days after each game. So I decided that I missed the one this year. I said I was retired, but I went and watched it. Filled in once, just sat in the goal square and tried to kick a few goals. But I love AFL. So I grew up with AFL, played in teams as a junior, went on to play in the senior leagues, still got mates from AFL. I think any team sport's great. So all my kids, I encourage them to be in team sports. We love the Brisbane Lions, go the Brisbane Lions. We're members, so we go and watch every home game. Unfortunately, on the weekend, they had a loss.
Yeah, surprising loss.
Which was a very surprising loss. But we're lucky enough to go to the Lions Grand Final last year. So we saw them win. Went the year before and watched them lose to Collingwood. But we're very passionate about sport. Golf is my other outlet. I've been playing golf since I was probably 15, 16. I love golf because it gets me out of the office. I try and do it, 9 holes once every couple of weeks. The goal would be every week when I get to that space where I can push out a few more of my responsibilities. You get to walk around and chase a white ball for 2 to 4 hours with other like-minded people and have a bit of a chin wag, and you're having a walk. And that's the other thing, to stay active. So, I used to be a bit more into the gym and running, but I've been advised I shouldn't run about 3 or 4 years ago because of some knee complaints as we're getting older. So I've taken up full contact Pilates with the
reformer Pilates.
Reformer.
Not easy.
It's not easy. It's not it. Reformer Pilates is not easy, especially with our trainer Kimmy. She's amazing. But yeah, so I try and stay active with Pilates. I still go to Good Life pump class here and there. Try and walk as much as I can because walking clears the mind too. Can listen to a few podcasts and stuff like that when I'm walking. But I think the main thing for me is just staying active. You know, as I go to the older entrepreneurial successful people that also look up to and see, you know, they're still in relatively good shape. They look after themselves, they eat well, they exercise. And that's probably, you know, the next 20 years for me, trying to do that.
We do have some Jim's golf balls. We'll have to get you some.
I'll take them.
Yeah, we have got some.
I love a free golf ball.
Yeah, we have to get them. I don't know if they'll be free.
Yeah.
I don't know if people have to get them.
I've got Cam from Electrical hoping to have a game with him. So
okay.
I may need a bit of ammo.
There's some in the shop there, so they've got the Jim's logo on there as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But Brett, thank you very much for your time today. It was great to do this after probably 4 or 5 years when we did the first one. So
thank you for having me back, Joel.
Well, it's been amazing how the division's developed. Even though I work for gyms, I objectively look at divisions and I know a bit what's going on with culture and stuff, and Pole Care is definitely one of the better ones. And you can just see from the socials with all the meetings and all the leadership, and everyone's really happy. That I interview as well, because I interview a lot of franchisees.
Yeah.
Pool Care guys are all very happy with what you're doing, and that's a credit to yourself and building that division from really small base to a massive base to being one of the largest now in Australia. And it's a great model. It gives people a lot of great opportunity. That's credit to yourself and Kelly and your family and everyone else has supported you over the years, and you've been a great support of Jim. So thank you very much for coming down, and hopefully you can get back up to the heat in Brisbane soon after our divisional comments. But means a lot you come in today, and we appreciate your time.
No, I appreciate the interview and everything you've done for me too over the years. So
thank
you're
you.
a champion, Joel.
Thanks, Brett. Appreciate
Thank you for everything. Okay. Cheers.